Where were you born?
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Your name sounds German. Does your family come from Germany?
Hoenig is a German name, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
Okay. And what kind of music scene was like in Philadelphia for you? You know, what was the mainstream music people, your friends, your pals were listening to, you know, when you were in school?
Well, yeah. I mean, I would go out and I would listen. Yeah, I would listen to, you know, to people in the scene, especially when I started getting into jazz. I would go listen to more music. Yeah. So when I was probably like 16, 17, 18, I started going out to the clubs and hearing the local players. Yeah.
You play violin and piano, right?
Right. Well, I started on violin.
You started out on violin, and did you
I do not play violin anymore.
Okay. And did you attend any official classes right away? Was it the natural process for you to go, okay, I would like to play a musical instrument, let's take lessons, or did you pick it up by yourself?
My parents are musicians, professional musicians, and so they basically, you know, made me study an instrument. That started violin when I was 3 years old, and I didn't like it very much, and I switched to piano when I was 6, and then also didn't like it, and I switched to drums when I was 12. I didn't like those instruments. One of the reasons because my parents were telling me how to practice all the time, and I felt, you know, more in control when I picked an instrument like the drums that they didn't know anything about.
Very smart move. And Ari, tell me, you know, when you were practicing your drums, or when you picked up the drums, were you more playing songs and those songs were teaching you how to keep the steady rhythm and how to have variety of slow tempo, medium tempo, fast tempo? Or were you already focused and pigeonholed into, today I'm practicing fast, slow, odd times?
Oh boy. Can you repeat that question? When I was
Yeah, when you started out playing drums, was your approach directly, okay, today I'm going to practice this particular thing? In other words, were you always focused on particular topics of your drumming, or did you prefer just playing songs and as a result of it, you know, you acquired certain skills?
I did both. So, you know, like for fun, I would play along to records, or I would play along to the radio, actually. And then I would also be, you know, taking lessons, so I would be doing some work for the lessons specifically.
And when you played with Jimmy Bruno, could you just give me an idea, what kind of standards did you like playing with him?
Wow. Like, I Love You, maybe? I can't really remember, actually, what standards he liked to play. A long time ago. You know him?
I've never met Jimmy Bruno. I'm familiar with his repertoire, with his playing, you know. I knew he's from Philly, and when I was checking you out, you know, I realized, okay, you're also from Philly, and you mentioned him in one of the interviews as one of the first early paid gigs, you know.
I don't remember. I really don't remember what songs we played. Yeah.
Is Pat Martino from Philadelphia also?
Yeah.
Have you ever met him, or, you know, did you get to play with him?
Yeah, I played with him, but not in Philly. I did some playing with him after, like, when I moved to New York, you know. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think was the most important moment, person, or an event in your education? It could be early education, something that was like a light bulb moment, and you go, well, this is a pinnacle of what started out my education, or what really had a great impact on me.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably watching this drummer named Earl Harvin play, because I heard him play, and it was very advanced, you know, but at the same time he was playing with the melody of the song, and so that was definitely a realization for me that, you know, the drums could play something very simple, but it could be very hip at the same time, and also melodic. It could also just be the song. Just playing the song is as hip as it gets, basically.
Okay. As an instructor, could you recommend any textbooks that everyone should have in their collection of instructional material? And we are talking textbooks for drummers and maybe composition.
For drummers, there are really three. The Ted Reed Syncopation book.
Yeah.
Stick Control.
Mm-hmm.
And my book called Systems.
Systems, there we go. What or does inspire you to learn more about music and innovate its elements? What is like a trigger for you when you start feeling, hey, I think today I feel like composing music, for my own project, or, I would like to make an album?
Usually it comes from like hearing a new piece of language, or either hearing it or what's the word? Just kind of coming up with it. There's a word, but I can't seem to think of it. But when you you have an idea about something that you want to play, basically it's like a musical idea. I hear somebody playing something. Maybe it's a rhythmic idea. Maybe it's it's some sort of melodic idea, and that actually is usually the thing that triggers it. Yeah.
Okay. What is definition of music language in your own words, in your own opinion? How would you define music language?
Well, it's the same as regular language. There are components to it, words and letters and sentences and phrases and paragraphs. It works very much the same way. It works the same way when you learn it too, because children, when they learn regular language, they just hear it at first. For the first year, they don't even think about what anything means. They just hear it and try to repeat it back, try to say the language. They don't know what anything means, and that's what the best way to learn music is as well. Then the letters make up words. The little components, small components of music make up the bigger components of trying to tell something. When you, to me, you could play this like. Or you can play this. And I just left out one note, right? But it's a completely different meaning than the first thing I played. In the same way as you would say a sentence, if you leave out one word, it means something completely different. So I see it as as the same thing. The difference is that people have really, really developed language very, very far. And we've not developed musical language nearly as far. So even me as a master musician, I'm much, much better at language than I am at music. Or even rhythm. Not comparatively, but in general.
In general, yeah.
So I'm not comparing myself. I mean, I'm not particularly good at language compared to an average person. I'm okay, but we've developed language so much as a species. I do feel like that music has the same ability to do what language has done. And that's what I try to do in my bands. I try to speak and have conversations. With the musicians that I play with, what I perform with.
Speaking of your music, if you were to pick your album, Lines of Oppression, for instance, right?
Right.
Could you describe what was the process of making that album from the scratch when you're thinking, okay, this is the concept for an album, now we had 7 days in the studio, and on a day one we did this, and this, and what kind of sounds were you looking for in terms of, your sound that your ears like, would try to capture? So
it wasn't like that at all. I wrote the music, we rehearsed it, we did a few gigs, and we recorded it in basically a couple days and maybe a night. So I didn't come to the studio looking for a sound that wasn't there, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's the sound I want.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like, oh, I don't have the luxury of just hanging out in the studio, and shedding.
Mm.
So the album was written, the music for the album. I wrote the music for the album. I got together. I think it was around the time that I was like spending a lot of time with Tigran, and we were doing a lot of playing together in New York, and so some of that stuff was written with him in mind.
Oh, okay.
As well as one of the arrangements, stuff that is by him. There's one song of his, on the record. So that was part of it, and then, but again, like I wrote the music, and then I would get together with the band, and then the band would rehearse. We only had really like a few gigs, I think, before when we recorded. So not that many, but just enough to get together the music.
And did you say that it was 2 days in the studio for you of recording?
Yeah, it was 2 days and a night, I think we did.
And how did you approach your working pace in the studio? Did you say, let's get the difficult tunes first? Or any kind of approach?
Race car, man. Race car, full speed ahead.
Okay. Full speed ahead, of course. Yeah, fantastic. When you were mixing and mastering the sound, is there anything that you particularly look in terms of volumes and the leveling the instruments?
Just to have them equal.
Have them equal.
Yeah, just to have all the instruments be equal volume.
Well, you have collaborated with so many musicians, but were there any in particular that really expanded your limits and are pinnacles of your lifelong collaborations?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, my favorite musicians that I've collaborated with, started with Jean-Michel Pilk, Kenny Werner.
Fantastic.
And later Tigran and Gilad Hexelman. And Devon Kennicott. So now Nitai Hershkovitz. These are all Francois Moutin is another one. Matt Penman is another one. All people who I feel have I've connected very strongly with.
Yeah, this connection. Let's talk about that for a second. What is it that you're looking in piano players, in bass players or guitar players that strike you and you go, okay, I think this person should be in my project? Could be their personality, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that I look for anybody is just like a strong groove, strong pulse, and that's if you don't have the other things and you have that, I still have a good time, enjoy myself playing music. Then I'm looking for somebody who understands me and my language and what I'm doing. So somebody that really understands what I'm doing rhythmically and is able to be there to support that. And then the last thing is individuality. Somebody that has an individual sound, individual ideas, something unique, about them.
What characteristics do define a good musician and a hard-working professional? So what characteristics do you think one needs to have?
For a good musician, I would say, somebody who makes a connection to music that they listen to when they play. Somebody that has listened to a lot of music and able to to make that connection and relate the music that they're hearing to things that they have heard already. A good listener, somebody who listens well. That's always the most important thing, for me, and I think in general as a musician, the most important thing is to be a good listener. And what is a good listener? Well, a good listener is not just somebody that is playing very sparse and staying out of the way. That's not a good listener. A good listener is somebody who understands what everybody is playing and how you're thinking about it. How the person is thinking about what they're playing. That's a good listener. so that's always what I look for, and what I think is important in to be a good musician. And then as far as professional, just the same things that are important in any professional, and any profession, which is basically like being responsible, being on time, making sure that a commitment means something. I don't really have a problem with that with anybody.
Well, what instrumental skills does a good drummer need to have? So we are most likely talking about your students that are building up their careers. So what instrumental skills do they need to have? What are the fundamentals of drums that they overlook so very often?
What fundamentals do you think do drummers or
drummers?
Do drummers need to have? Knowing the song.
Mm-hmm.
That's one that I feel like is overlooked sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But a drummer that knows the song is automatically much better than a drummer who does not know the song.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I'm playing with this guitarist, and he's never played drums before, but he knows the song really well. I'd much rather play with somebody who knows the song than a drummer who is a really good drummer that doesn't know the song. So that's the advice that I would get for drummers is know the song. It's going to make you much better.
Mm-hmm. Are there any common mistakes or false assumptions that students make when they go and take a lesson with you or go into a college that has a big name?
I'm not. I mean, I do teach, and I am part of I guess people do know me as somewhat as an educator, but I'm not really involved in any. I'm not involved any
institution
very closely with any institutions.
Okay.
I mean, I teach for NYU and I teach for the New School as well, but I don't do anything other than teach private lessons. So it's true that occasionally that I do get a student who doesn't really know what to expect from me, but it's pretty occasionally. It's like not often.
Gotcha.
And most of the students that study with me, they know. They know what I'm about, and they know what they want to get from me. These schools that I teach at, they are not cheap. They're very, very expensive schools.
Yep.
And students are paying a lot of money to go there. So it doesn't really make sense for them to go, especially for school for music, and not know exactly what they want, what they're getting. And I also teach privately quite a lot, which also the students really know what they're getting from me. So I don't think that they come into it thinking this or that and not getting that. And I also try to gear my teaching towards individuals, individual students, what they want, and it makes it more fun for me. So I like.
What does your ordinary day look like in terms of drumming? When you get up and you've got the particular routine that you like to follow. Do you do some stretches, or how does your day look like?
I don't really have a routine. My routine is just my life, what I do. But as it applies to music, that's my job. So that's what I'm really dealing with every day. It's a job for me, and it's obviously a great job. I love being creative, and I really love what I do. But it is a job.
Well, how well do you cope with stressful elements such as like a peer pressure, competition, fear of being good enough, living up to your own expectations and the expectations of the others? Is there any advice?
Those things are all tough. I've given up completely on myself years ago. So it's not that I don't want to be good. I just like, I know that there's things that I would love. I would love to be able to play certain things or be, have my things in my career be, in a certain place. But I mean, that's just not really. If it happens, I just get lucky. It'll just get lucky. But I try to not get my hopes up. And as far as my ability, I'm not getting really any better at this point. I mean, I'm getting better at certain things, but I'm definitely not getting any faster. I'm not playing any faster now, but I am expanding my vocabulary. But I'm doing that for fun. Like that's what I enjoy. I enjoy doing that. So I'm very honestly like relaxed. I'm a very mellow person. Not a lot of pressure. I don't like high pressure. I don't like stress. I don't like that kind of stuff. I'm not saying I've never been in pressure and stressful situations, but it's not something that I choose to put myself in.
Could you cast the light on what kind of injury happened to you, and how did you treat it? And based on your treatment, how would you prevent it?
Well, I've had quite a few. The one I think that I would start with is something called sciatica. I had that 3 times in my life for anywhere between 9 months and a year each time. And that's when there's a pinched nerve that shoots down your leg like kind of like a
sciatica. Yeah.
So that was rough, very painful, very rough. I had to cancel tours from that, and I also was in a lot of pain in certain tours from that, and not just on tour, just at home, anywhere. But I haven't had it now for about 7 or 8 years. Good.
Touch the woods, touch the woods.
What's that?
Touch the woods, yeah.
Yeah, I'm hopefully,
Yeah.
So that's definitely one thing. I've had minimal, like I haven't really had big like problems with stuff in my arms, like tendonitis or anything like that. I have something called bursitis in my leg, which is basically like a bone that's touching a band, the IT band, which is just a painful thing. I actually think it might have had something to do with sciatica, but no. I have my back. I have weak vertebrae in my back, it's bulging, disc, stuff like that. Which is like.
How would you prevent these things or make your back stronger? Did you get any advice on that?
I have not even said the half of it yet.
Yeah, all right.
Tinnitus in my ears, which is ringing, it happens all the time. Okay, so things to prevent. I mean, I've studied Alexander technique. I feel like that's really good. Also, there's other movement arts like yoga and like Feldenkrais and like other kind of Tai Chi, other movement arts that I feel like are helpful to get, for me, when I started playing, I didn't really start thinking about my body, how it used my body, and did later on, but it was, for a lot of things, kind of too late. Like I wouldn't, I just wouldn't be thinking about the most practical way to use my body. So, so those are some things that I would recommend. Also, just like in general, just take stretching, moving. If at all possible, just treating your body like being active. Really helps it, at least to some degree. If you're like going from not doing anything to like playing really, really hard, to not doing anything, I think you can do really hard on your body. And then I think the most important thing that I could say as far as like what to do and not to do, just don't get old. Because that's actually the thing that really fucks it.
You get some secrets, Ari?
Yeah, don't get old. I mean, I can't tell you how to do that, but that's my recommendation.
What happened to your shoulder?
Oh, right. So actually, I'm not exactly sure. I can tell you that I don't think it was playing related. But I just started getting all this pain, like whenever I moved it, like up and around, anything above my head. But it happened with both shoulders at the same time, so I don't really know. So I actually did get some surgery on my shoulder, on my left shoulder, and now it's it's I mean, I would say that it's better. The surgery, I'm recovered from the surgery now, but the shoulder itself is not actually better. So it's just pretty much what it is. It's been the same. It's pretty much the same as it was before the surgery, I would say.
You mentioned Alexander technique. Did you just go into a class with somebody that was teaching Alexander technique, or did you get any books or any courses online?
I've done some various things with that. I've had some private lessons, and I don't think I've ever done a course on it specifically. Just private study. Yeah.
What software do you use for recording? At home, do you use Pro Tools? And what software do you use for scoring and writing music?
I don't use Pro Tools, except that if I'm in the studio editing.
Okay.
I don't use really any computer software, musical software.
Okay.
I write on piano. By hand.
I was just asking just to make a picture of what's a working pace, the moment you sit down, and start writing on a piano, the moment when, I don't know, if you have a MIDI, you can transfer it to a computer and suddenly you've got the whole score. Or you can write it in hand like Mike Moreno and you've got wonderful handwriting. Do you have a wonderful handwriting?
Terrible. but I always get somebody to put it into Sibelius for me or to one of the programs.
Okay.
And I have a song book, with all my songs in it, and all the music is in Sibelius, not my handwriting. Although I do have a couple of handwritten things in there. But no, my handwriting is not very nice. You can try doing anything you want once, and it's not going to hurt you. You can play naked. It's not going to really hurt you.
Yeah.
I mean, do a show naked, it's fine. Or burn bridges. You can burn a bridge here and there. You'll be all right. Cancel gigs or tours without the permission of the band leader. You can do that once or twice. It's not going to be a big deal in your career. I mean, it's not a great thing to do a lot. You don't want to get a reputation for that, but yeah, once it's okay. I wouldn't say don't ever do that. So I think just in general, everybody makes mistakes, but just realize that mistakes are not the opposite of success. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is a stepping stone to success.
Well, Ari, thank you so much, and have a nice evening, right? Take care.
All right.